Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a past, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win. I don't want no fake love, I want the real stuff. Everybody listen up, cause I'll only say it once. I'm gonna show you all the path, if you want it bad. I'm gonna show you where it's at, yeah, how you can get it back. Yeah, cause I ain't never done, I'll be number one. Working hella hard until I get just what I want, yeah. Rises like the sun, yeah, fatal like a gun. Shooter's gonna shoot and I'm gonna shoot until I won, yeah. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a past, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win, yeah. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a past, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win. I don't want no fake love, I want the real stuff. Everybody listen up, cause I'll only say it once. I'm gonna show you all the path, if you want it bad. I'm gonna show you where it's at, yeah, how you can get it back. Yeah, cause I ain't never done, I'll be no
I forgot I had put myself in already. So I accidentally booted myself. So what a frickin' day. Well, I should say afternoon, because it was going good until about after my live when I did the press conference for the Philadelphia mass shooting. So, long story short, I did a Walmart delivery grocery order like I always do. And while I was live, I got a text saying my groceries were here. So I'm like, okay, I'll just get them after I'm done. So I go to look, not where they're supposed to be. So I said, well, it's raining. Maybe they put them near the front door because I have a covered porch. Nope, not there. So where are my groceries? So I call Walmart. They call the driver. He's like, well, her mom was there and they were taking stuff out of the SUV. So I told Walmart, first of all, I don't live with my mother. Second of all, she doesn't drive an SUV. So, long story short, they were supposed to send a replacement order, which I just recently found out is not policy. So I got a refund for my groceries. It was annoying because I stayed here thinking that they were going to bring my replacement order. So I waited. And then finally it was at 6:30. I was like, you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to my parents' house. So go to my parents' house. I had told, my parents and my sister and her family, just eat without me. So I ate. We're about ready. My dad has the fire ready. We're going to go do s'mores. And the kids were going to do fireworks or bottle caps, whatever they are, bottle rockets. And a storm comes through. Lightning, thunder, the whole shebang. So, yeah, it was fun. So, yep. Yeah, and the lightning actually got pretty close. I mean, the storm was pretty close. It looked on the radar that it was going to go east of us, but clearly the radar wasn't correct. So we are going to start this party with something. So I actually sent a post to Bash and Sinner before the live, and I was like, look at this asshat. Well, friends, I didn't get the whole picture. So sometimes when we post on our community page, the picture, you actually have to click on it to see the entire thing because it only has a certain window. Check this out, y'all. Check this out. You know what? Let me make it a little bigger. Let me take myself out for a minute. So I actually only sent the middle part of this. So Betty's finger and then Happy 4th of July. I didn't realize that she had put herself with Brian Koberger and crime scene tape on her frickin' community page. I'm sorry. I actually was in a pretty good mood since I got a refund for my groceries, but this is really effed up. And I know Anna's in my chat, so I'm going to try to tame my language. But what in the actual F? Weirdo? That's being nice, Lisa. Like, I could see, just having her on it, but why would you put Brian Koberger on a post about our Independence Day? Yeah, so I wondered why, and I should have known it wasn't the whole thing, Bash, because when I looked at it, the Bullhorn Betty part was cut off, and I was like, well, that's weird. And then I just happened to click on it by accident. Yes, that is blowhard. Yes. And so when I clicked on it, I was like, what the I don't even know. And this was actually an hour ago. So I had checked earlier because I was working on my presentation for tonight. And then when I got home, well, I pushed it. It was supposed to be at 8, but then I pushed it to 8:30 because we had planned to do s'mores and stuff. And then, so we actually made s'mores in the microwave, which, I mean, it did what it had to do, but it's not the same. And so I came home and I said, let me just check to see if she's posted anything, because she hadn't for a couple of days. And this is what I found. Yes. And I was hoping, well, I'm going to keep this just in case. I was hoping Blank would come in, because I don't know if he's seen this, but I looked, there's 2 comments on this. One of them is Gigi puts a red, white, and blue heart, and another person says Happy 4th July. 58 people hit the like button. I'm sorry, I don't see how this is appropriate whatsoever. Yes. So while I have that up, I'm just going to go through and say hello to some people as people come in, because I did start the intro a little bit early because I was like, you know what, I'm just going to wing it. I'm partly ready, but not completely ready. So I'm going to just slide through quick. So Jeannie was first, and Jeannie was ready to roll for 8 o'clock. And then I just kept pushing it back. Patricia, hello. Outlaw, Bash. Crazy Nurse. And my messages are still sending twice, and I don't know what the heck is going on. So I have to remember to just send messages from my phone, because that's really annoying. All right, I see you guys were having some in chat. All right. Oh, Heather Beachy, hello. Anna, I said hi to you. Barbie, hello. Crime Time. Have y'all seen where the neighbors of that teenager, now adult, says that he has been living at home with his mom, been to their house, chilled with her kids? The boy that was supposedly missing for 8 years? What is his name? But that boy? I haven't really kept up with that because there's been so many mass shootings going on that's kind of where my focus has been. Thunder, hello. Ariana's mom. Cool Gamer. Hey, Cool Gamer. I'm so glad you said hello, everybody. Usually you just say hey. So, oh yeah, and then I did say what a fucking day. Infamous Truth Teller, hello. Peggy. Lady Pants. Marcy. Oh, good. You were having trouble with people not seeing you. Just rebooted your iPad, and I confirmed that it helped. Perfect. Crazy Nurse. I thought you were thanking me, but yeah. Purple Dot, hello. T-Bell, hello. I don't think I've seen you before, so welcome. Chris Kress, hello. Sinner, as always. Amberly, how's it going? Okie Crime News. Gail. 102. It was hot here. It was like 90 degrees when I left my house at 30. I don't know what the high is, but it was disgusting outside here. Runs with Scissors, hello. CK, good to see you. Oh, yeah. So with Walmart, they said they were going to send me a replacement. So it was groceries. So obviously, being 90 degrees outside, I didn't know where they were. And so they're describing the house, and I'm like, that's not my house. Like, it's not hard to find my house. And they said they're going to send a replacement. The girl told me she was going to have somebody shop for the items, and they would send me, what I didn't get. Well, it never came. So, yeah, it's whatever. It's not stuff that I needed. Like, it was like cheese balls, burritos. Like, it wasn't, I needed cat food, and that's actually being shipped anyway. So it's not like I needed anything, but to do the free delivery, it has to be $35. So that's what I did. So I just bought stuff that I didn't really need. Yeah, Bash, exactly. Sick. Like, who frickin' does that? Yeah, Rebel Rose, hello, I agree. Yes, Lisa, I'm curtailing my language too because Anna is here, although Anna should be going to sleep soon because she went swimming for a few hours today, so she should be sleepy. Although my nephew, holy hell, I told him he needs to bottle up his energy and put it in a bottle for me so that I can have some of his energy. And then he kept asking me what the seventh was. And so I said Pluto. He's like, Pluto's not a planet. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. They say it's a star now. Well, he was trying to get me to say Uranus because he's an 8-year-old boy. So I kept saying Uranus. And he kept saying, what's the seventh planet? And I go, Uranus. And so he keeps like asking me. And then finally he yells out, Uranus. And I was like, yeah, I knew what you were trying to get me to say. So I was deliberately saying it in the way that I knew you didn't, the opposite of what I knew you wanted me to say. Charlotte, hi. Lady Pants. Oh, that's true. Lady Pants. I didn't even notice that. It's like he's looking at her. Yeah, that's weird. Exactly, truth teller. She wants to be an advocate, but then she goes and like, why would you even put anyone but yourself on a post? Like, my post was just happy 4th of July or something like that. Like, it was boring. But why would you put that? Like, I don't even know. Yeah, I agree, Dutchoma. She's obsessed with him. Mm-hmm. She is. She's disturbed. So Anna, it was actually 3 girls and a boy who had lives taken, but I agree, it's terrible. It's him who did it or not. But yes, it was 3 girls and a boy. Mm-hmm. Oh, 4th of July stripper hat? I don't want to know about that. I mean, what she does, her night job might, Oh, thank you for listen. It wasn't my choice. I was way behind and I was like, I'm not ready to go live. And I'm way behind. So I don't know if True Crime Dime is in here, but I am going to. So if I didn't say hello to you, hello. I was almost 10 minutes behind, so I skipped forward. Yeah. In what universe is she living in? Why would you put an alleged murderer on a holiday post? So bizarre. Exactly. And when it's our independence or we celebrate our freedom, I mean, you could interpret that in so many ways that are not becoming. I mean, she doesn't. Why she does it? Because it gets people talking. That's why, and it draws more attention to her channel. Well, I mean, hopefully no one goes to her channel because I'm showing you this, so you already know what her post is. I mean, and there weren't many comments at all, probably because people were doing other things, but it's pretty cringe. Oh, what? The pic when she had the black choker that said F me. I feel like I've seen it. Vaguely remember. She was a lot younger, right? Her hair was darker. Is that the picture you're talking about? Because I feel like I've seen it. Yeah. How she expects to be taken seriously. Hey, Karma, how's it going? All right, so we are going to get started because we need to get this heifer and this demented cringe off the screen. But yes, that is awful. So this is her live from yesterday morning, because I finished watching it last night. And I don't know if we'll get the part that really pissed me off today. I'm going to try to get the 2 hours, but I mean, this is really late for me. So we might get to it, but if not, I'll probably go live tomorrow at my normal time. So let's get this party started, shall we? Whoops. Hold on. Good grief. There we go.
And of course, nobody knew who Brian Kohberger was until his name was read for the first time to the world when he was arrested for and in charge and accused of this crime. Since then, we've learned a lot about Brian Kohberger's behaviors, Brian Kohberger's odd behaviors.
And just to give obviously it's about DNA, but a lot of what she talks about is Kohberger. I actually skipped over where she brings up all these different articles. One of the sources that she was using was from 2011, which I think scientifically that's outdated. At least, knowing what I know about what I did in grad school with research. I feel like 12 years is a long time for scientific information, but I did skip over that. So there may be some boring parts, but I tried to cut out what I could with less time than I thought I would have.
Of friends that he's had or been able to maintain, good friendship. Many of us have friendships that we've known, for 20, 30 years. While Brian Kohberger, nobody from his past really has a whole lot to do with him. When we look a little further, we see his mother had this disdain for people that were proud that Ted Bundy was being executed for his crimes. And remember, Ted Bundy being a serial killer. This post was posted by Marianne Kohberger years before Brian Kohberger was born. And so it's just this whole story, the whole family, everything is very intriguing to many people, including our audience, including myself. And, we're watching this case unfold before our eyes, even though the courts are doing everything they can.
And so I see in chat, you're saying about how she always has to say Brian Kohberger. She can't just say Brian. She has to say the whole name. It's interesting that you say that because what was irking me today, and I believe I skipped over it because she puts on that fake voice, like the caring voice, and she explains, for those of you who haven't heard of Brian Kohberger, he's accused of blah, 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 blah. And then she says all 4 victims' names. She gives a synopsis of the case. It's like, dude, everyone knows because you say it over and over and over.
Can to withhold literally every bit of information humanly possible, which is insane to me. The bottom line is this is going to court, and we're watching Brian. We're paying attention to everything that's going on in the court. We're paying attention to everything that is being spoken from the defense, Nancy Taylor and Logsdon, Jay Logsdon. We're watching everything and we're paying close attention. And one of the things that it keeps being brought up, and of course, being the defense, you're going to want to distance yourself from the most powerful information against as much as possible. There are just things you're not going to be able to prevent coming out, such as his phone records, such as whatever they're able to obtain from his vehicle. But they are trying very hard to attack the DNA. And I believe we're getting misinformation. Like,
oh, you believe we're getting misinformation from who? From you? Because that I could agree with. And what I don't agree with is that the defense is being shady with the information that they're putting in their motions. I don't think that's what they're doing, but let's see what else she has to say.
Like, everybody's talking about this touch DNA and, what the implications of that are. Touch DNA is used in a lot of cases, in a lot of capital cases, and have been used for quite some time. While our misconceptions on how often DNA is used in capital cases, I'm hoping that we kind of settle a little bit of information, overload for you guys, but, put it in palatable terms, because again, we are trying to make heads or tails of this DNA while it's a science that many of us have really no clue about. And even when we study it and it's explained to us and we hear it when experts sit on the stand at trials, we still don't understand it. And,
So why would you be trying to explain it or explore it? Because we're going to see how she thinks she understands it, because I don't know if it's deliberate or unintentional, but she takes the words literally and doesn't go any further than what the words are at face value.
I'm looking at, the jury, when you're a juror, you're listening to all of this evidence. We're not quite there yet in the Kohberger case. Obviously, we're not at trial. We're still dealing with a whole lot of pretrial motions, and we haven't even gotten into the exclusion of evidence yet. There's a lot of processes still left ahead of us. And that is one of the reasons why I don't believe we're going to be ready for trial in October. You're going to watch that trial date start, moving back as the defense starts working to delay. Brian Kohberger.
Wouldn't it be moving forward instead of moving back? Because you're moving, and actually I asked because I said I was going to push back the time for my live, but technically it would be push the time forward because we're ahead in time. I don't know, I'm being over analytical probably at this moment, but because I wouldn't push the time back, I would push it forward, but then
with this DNA, we keep hearing that there is a lack of DNA between the victims and Brian Kohberger. But again, that is what the defense is going to want to keep maintaining in all of its pleadings, because they're going to distance themselves from any evidence. They're going to dispute any evidence. They're going to act like.
But they wouldn't do that in emotion. I would think if the defense deliberately lied on a legal document that they file with the court, that would be not only unethical, it would get them in trouble. So, yes, I can see them disputing the evidence, but to blatantly lie about having no connection to the victims, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't do that because they could lose their job.
Like, even if they had Kaylee Gonzalez's blood on his pillow in his bedroom, they're still going to act like it doesn't exist. And, they're not going to be really addressing the evidence against Brian Kohberger publicly or through pleadings just yet. But this thing about this lack of DNA evidence is really bothersome for me because, I think we need to get educated, not just on the science behind the DNA, which none of us are going to really understand. And it's going to be very difficult to explain, right? We know that there's a lot of stuff we don't know, from markers to loci, to how many of those loci are tested. Anything under 10 can give multiple hits, and then anything from 11 above, has more familial type of hits. So it'd be a brother or a sibling or something like that, above that 10 loci. So we're learning about that, and it's still confusing. Even when we have the roadmap explaining all this to us, it's still very, very confusing. So I'm not going to.
I'm already confused with what she's saying. So I don't understand DNA. I know that, like I have half my mom's, half my dad's. I mean, I get that. But like for her to talk about markers and how it becomes more familial versus non-familial, like, girlfriend, just stop.
Try to attack the science related to the DNA, and educate. I'm not attacking the education of the science behind it. We're going to attack the information about it. So we're going to start off first just trying to familiarize ourselves with a few things, such as what is touch DNA and how it can be defined. And it's DNA transferred from a person to an object via contact with the object itself. And I thought this definition was pretty interesting. How can I make some stupid definition on Google is interesting because it says something very specific here. It says via contact with the object.
Yeah.
So that means the person has to come in contact with the object. So here is a situation where you have a gentleman. His name's Brian Koberger.
Oh my gosh, we know his name, boo-boo.
We all know who he is by now, and if we don't, again, he's accused of killing the Idaho 4, Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan on November 13th. There was a sheath laying next to Maddie's body on the 3rd floor. That sheath had a single strand of DNA on it, biological material on the button snap of this.
And I have a question for those of you who are science, like more familiar with scientific things. Would it be a single strand of DNA? I feel like that language is not correct because it was touch DNA, so it was a single source of DNA. Because when I think of DNA strands, I think of the helix. So if anybody can educate me on the correct way to explain that, I would appreciate it.
Sheath. That button snap of that sheath is what they are saying is touch DNA.
Oh my gosh, look at, I learned something in science class. So Lisa says a strand of DNA is a helix. What? Dang, I did learn something in high school. So yeah, so when she says single strand, like I'm thinking like single strand of hair, which, you could think of a helix, and then you have your double helix. Okay.
DNA. The thing about touch DNA is you can't get it without coming into contact with it. So you're talking about Brian Koberger, which has virtually no friends, no people, no confidants. He's not a normal person behaviorally. He doesn't have the same empathy, the same it factor. He comes off as
the same it factor. So here's the thing. We've heard, and if you hear loud booms, someone is shooting off fireworks outside. I just heard it. It's not super loud at the moment, but I feel like it's going to get loud. We know that Brian was awkward, I guess. However, for someone to be able to, one, go to college, go to graduate school, and then go into a PhD program and be a teacher's assistant, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be antisocial, as you're saying. And how does she know he didn't have confidants or people he spoke to? Or maybe he did have a friend or friends. How does she know? She doesn't. And I find it also interesting that she brings up empathy. So empathy, the same it factor. Well, empathy and the it factor, I don't find related at all. So I'm curious what she would define the it factor as.
Is odd. And I think the vibe people get from him is that of odd, an odd vibe. And I truly do believe that that is what we're dealing with. And I don't believe he really has a lot of people he's going to be hanging out with. And why am I over explaining this? Because this sheath had his DNA on it. It didn't have somebody else's DNA on it. It didn't have some third person, fourth person, fifth person. It had his, and it only had it in a small area. Now, again, I have a hard time with mainstream media and all the confidential sources close to the investigation that are in law, whatever the word salad that they use to try to convince you that what they're saying comes from a reliable source. Okay. So, and that even goes to the Dateline program where they went over the.
So, Kelsey, I actually wondered that same thing. So, Kelsey asked, does she have some filter on? So, I noticed that, she has the ring lights, but she does her skin looks flawless to me, which tells me she probably has some type of filter on. I'm sure. I don't know how you do that, through like without using Snapchat or TikTok or, Facebook filter thing. But her skin looks flawless to me. So I would, in my opinion, I would say yes.
This case. And it was alleged in the Dateline program that Brian, from a confidential law enforcement source close to the case. Okay, whatever that means, right? Whatever that means. Basically states that they believe, or they were told by this confidential source, law enforcement source close to the case, that Brian Kohberger actually purchased this K-bar knife and knife sheath in Pennsylvania and took that to Washington with him. So, my brain starts going in overdrive, and you're listening to this definition of touch DNA, right? DNA transferred from a person to an object by a contact with the object itself. You have to come in contact with it, right? So if we take this assertion, this allegation from this Dateline segment that this knife sheath traveled with Brian across country from Pennsylvania to Washington State University, wouldn't you reasonably assume that came into contact with more than just Brian Kohberger?
No.
Don't you think that would have had some type of contact DNA, say from his mother, his father, a friend?
No.
Something else?
No.
Good morning, Rhonda. It's nice to see you.
No. Because if it was his knife that he bought, there is a possibility that no one else touched it. I have things in my house that I'm probably the only one that touches, because when with my niece and nephew come, they'll touch certain things that I touch, but there's other things that they don't touch that I touch. So I don't see why that's so hard to believe.
Get what I'm saying? So that's where this whole, I think he cleaned the sheath, I think the sheath was intentionally left there. We don't know if that's true. That's just my opinion. But those are the reasons why. So if he had to come into contact with the item which his touch DNA was left on, why was there nobody else in contact with that knife sheath that left touch DNA on it besides Brian Kohberger? If you can ask the question one way, why can't we ask the question the other way, right? Lack of DNA. Well, why was there nobody else's DNA on that knife sheath but Brian Kohberger? And how would Brian Kohberger, an isolated person, really doesn't socialize well with other people?
Because it was his knife and sheath. So, okay, here's an example. I wear a night guard at night because I not only grind my teeth, but I clench to the point that I have broken many teeth. I would hope that if I traveled cross country with my night guard in case, that I would be the only one touching it. Just saying. Because I don't see why anyone else, my niece, my nephew, I mean, if I had asked them, oh, can you grab my night guard out of my bag? That's different. But if I'm traveling across the country by myself, it's likely that no one's going to touch my night guard. Same thing with a knife. Maybe they didn't know he had the knife. Maybe he's the only one who knew he had it. So that point, Betty, in my opinion, is flawed. Seriously flawed.
Come in contact with a knife sheath from another person. So we can spin this all the way around as much as you want to, but at the end of the day, I believe common sense is going to win this argument related to this knife sheath and whether or not, Bryan Kohberger was the owner of that knife sheath. I think he was. I think he was.
All right. I had a feeling I was going to end it there. Common sense, something she doesn't have. And so welcome to those of you who are coming in. I am actually going to show you all, in case you missed it, because it's so cringeworthy. This is a post that Bestie posted about an hour and a half ago on her community page. So I thought for those of you who didn't see it, let's take a look again at how cringe Bestie is. So on our Independence Day, where we celebrate our freedom from the British, this is what she puts on her community page. Yes. She is a mess, but the fact that she put crime scene tape and Bryan Kohberger, who I believe it was, I don't remember who, someone pointed out, she has a photo of him looking at her. Super duper cringe. Yes, Kayla. She posted that on her community page about an hour and a half ago. Because this was an hour ago. So yeah, so like probably around 8 o'clock she posted this. Awful. 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 Oh, Lisa, thank you so much. So Lisa gifted a membership, and Jen T, welcome to the Stoners. And no, not that type of stoner.
DNA under the nails. And we never heard about whether or not there was DNA under any of the victims' hair or nails, rather, right? We don't know why, because they've never told us. But we do know that at least there were some people that fought back. Were they able to get skin cells under their nails? You know, that would be oil, skin cells, hairs with follicles. Exactly. And we don't know if he was wearing anything over his hair. Could the girls have pulled some of his hair? Is there evidence that we know a lot of this evidence takes a really long time to process? You know, when this case was moving really rapidly, you know, back in November and December, this case was moving rapidly. I can tell you because I was boots on the ground there in November and December into January when all this was happening. We were in Idaho when they named Bryan Kohberger as the suspect. We were in front of his apartment as they were executing the search warrant. I had an opportunity to speak with Captain Lanier and Corporal Brett Payne. So, you know, it is.
Wait, so this damn thing. So she said that she was able to talk with Captain Lanier and Brett Payne. Okay, where's the evidence of that, Betty? Because I'm pretty sure if you spoke with them one-on-one, you would have had a video of that. And I don't remember seeing any video of you speaking to anyone in law enforcement, except for the police officers who were stationed at the house.
It is important what they have, But outside of them rushing to find out who did this, I would think that at some point it's no longer an urgency to have it processed. Like, you can be expedited and pushed to the top of the line in your state crime labs and the FBI labs. But once you got where you needed to go, things start slowing down rapidly.
What?
Right? So there was the urgency to find out who did this and to get them off the street. Once that urgency, once that person was apprehended, I don't think they're in as much of a panic.
Exactly, runs with scissors. The cops telling her to get out of the road. Exactly.
To get all that DNA, all that forensic stuff processed at rapid pace, they have to go back into back into the line. And there are other cases in Idaho that are important that may need that urgency and take a priority now over the Idaho 4 because it's no longer an urgent matter.
I don't know how crime labs work, but I'm going to say that what she's saying is bullshit. I feel there are those cases that are pushed to the front of the line depending on severity. However, the fact that she's saying that they're no longer moving at the same pace because it's not urgent, I feel like it would take the same precedence. And maybe I'm wrong, and I'm okay if I'm wrong. I just feel like, I don't know, that what she's saying is not true.
Because Bryan Kohberger has been apprehended and is behind bars. Now they can kind of take, step back, get some breathing room, and process this, accurately, slowly. Everything's not going at a rapid pace at this moment. So we have a lot of stuff where DNA can be extracted. But I think the ones for us, we know that this was not sexually motivated. So we're going to be interested in the dried blood, if there was any saliva, if there was any hair, if there was any DNA under the fingernails. Those are the things I would think would apply to Bryan Kohberger. And no matter what, until it's written in black and white, I believe that no matter.
Blank. Hey, Blank, did you see her community page post? Because if you didn't, my friend, I'm going to show it again just because I can. And thank you so much for your super chat. But Blank Screen, if you have not seen her community page, let me know. I will show it. Again, for those of you who may be coming in and not have seen it. And for those of you who have seen it, just close your eyes for a little bit. So the fact that Blank is here, hold on. So I'm at 3510. Let me just go back to this first slide. So for those of you just coming in, especially Blank Screen, if you have not seen this, this is what she posted on her community page around 8 o'clock this evening. It's really bad. And CK, I believe it is. So just because he didn't SA them does not mean that he was not feeling some type of way, some type of euphoria from committing those acts. Yes, much love to Blank Screen, who I think may have left. Because, he needs to make his rounds. But, yeah. I'm going to go back to here. And I was at... Blank. Yes, flexing with her boyfriend and Blank, or actually Brain. I should start calling him Brain Kohberger. And someone pointed out she has the image of Bryan looking at her, which is double cringe.
Unless it's publicly known to the public, the defense is going to deny that it even exists. So I don't know how they're going to handle that. And again, we don't know if all the evidence has come back either. They're stating that
It's called procuring. I don't know if I know what that word means. Procuring? Brain and Betty sitting in a tree.
But even in the responses from the state, they're saying, as we start getting this, we'll be sure to turn this over, that we're going to continue to be turning over anything that we get.
Oh, peeking. Oh, it looks like it says procuring. I don't know. And Marcy, I agree, especially since she says she wakes up at the same time that the majority of us are getting home from the club. You think she would have wished everyone a happy 4th of July at 2 a.m. as opposed to 8 p.m. That's a really good point, Marcy.
We know with Alec Murdaugh, they were still getting evidence in on the case as the trial was underway. Remember? Because they received the OnStar data like 2 or 3 days after trial had started. They were still receiving evidence in that case, even after the trial. So right now, they may not have all of this. I remember when we were working on Kylan Schulte and Crystal Turner, we went out there, we had met with Lieutenant Kem Neal. We provided him some of the information that we found. The Adam Pikowicz, or whatever his name was, that was ultimately accused of the crime. We actually had his name brought up within 24 hours of our feet being on that ground. We actually brought that name up to Lieutenant Kem Neal. And it was quite interesting, but we also spoke to the state attorney to explain, because we were having some, Lieutenant Kem Neal was, taking things as, I don't know if he was taking them as a joke or not, or maybe just trying to throw us off because we had, named their prime suspect in the case. And we're just a bunch of, social media people that, just have our heart in doing the right thing. So we ended up talking to the state attorney about Lieutenant Kem Neal.
Okay, so this is where I think I had asked Bash if she was around for this case. If anyone in chat was around during this time, can you confirm or deny what she's saying? Because I am going to call bullshit, but, I don't want to call it if there's some truth to it, but I find it really hard to believe that she went to the attorney to tattletale on a law enforcement officer.
Neal, and about how we feel that he wasn't turning over all the leads that were being provided to him, because we provided him a lead. And we didn't feel like he was taking it seriously. And so when we talked to the state attorney, she was a very nice lady there in Grand.
Yes. So Blowhard is saying that she went to, I don't remember his name now because I wasn't really paying attention, but she went to a law enforcement officer with like clues. And so when nothing was happening, she went to the state attorney and talked to the state attorney about, this is what we think, da 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 da. And the police had never entertained their theories.
County, and her last name was Sloan, and I can't remember her first name, but it was something Sloan. And I remember calling her. This was many months later. We were out there. It had to have been, we were still out there trying to get measurements and stuff out there at Myakka.
Oh my gosh, Hippoporium. So Hippoporium, for those of you listening, there is some truth to it, but they wore wigs in the restaurants and gathering info. And yes, they cut down every police station. The man they are talking about took his own life. That is so sad.
Apache Creek Environmental Park. And we were trying to get, I can't remember exactly what we were doing, but I remember Olivia, Jonathan, and myself sat down at a park bench there, and we're like, we need to call and find out what's going on in this case. We haven't heard anything about it. We need an update. And so,
no, you didn't need anything. It wasn't any of your business. Like the entitlement, I mean, I feel like the generation now, they're the entitlement generation, at least that's my opinion. I don't feel like Betty and I's generation should be the entitlement generation because we were born in the late 70s and grew up in the 80s, early 90s. But her sense of entitlement is obscene.
So we reached out to the state attorney to see if she had received the file on her desk or if there was any information. And she let us know that they didn't even have the forensics back in their case. This was 9 months after they were killed. 9 months. And they still didn't have one iota of forensic evidence processed and back to them, according to the state attorney, which I believe. She had no reason to lie to me. And she knew we were keeping this under wraps. We weren't, broadcasting it. So we did have a level of trust there with her. So she was a little more open with us, but she did tell us that they had not received, that they're pretty sure once they get some type of forensic findings back, that will help and aid in who had committed the crime. But they 9 months later still did not have any of the forensics back. So that's important to know. That's important to know. And so this is just a Wikipedia kind of.
So now we're using Wikipedia to explain touch DNA. So this is just my opinion, but when it comes to science, I feel like watching a video would be more informational and easier to understand than someone showing me. I think she had to have had, I skip over a lot of it, but she had to have had, I don't know, at least 10 different websites describing touch DNA. And I feel like a 3 to 4 minute video would have sufficed.
A Wikipedia kind of definition. I know some people like Wikipedia versus just Google, so I thought I'd give you both. And it says touch DNA, also known as trace DNA, is a forensic method for analyzing DNA left at the scene of a crime. It's called touch DNA because it only requires a very small sample. For example, from skin cells left on an object after it has been touched or casually handled, or from fingerprints. Touch DNA analysis only requires...
Okay, and just an FYI, it doesn't say from fingerprints. It says, or from footprints.
7 or 8 cells from the outermost layers of the human skin. The technique has been criticized for high rates of false positives due to contamination. For example, fingerprint brushes used by crime scene investigators can transfer trace amounts of skin cells from one surface to another surface, leading to an inaccurate result. So this is on the knife sheath. So we don't know if there could have been any contamination or if anything else touched that knife sheath prior to them testing it for the DNA or what that process is. So we will find out. But as you can see, there are problems with touch DNA, which many have said that, this is a concern, but it's not a hurdle the defense, or a hurdle that the state can't get over. It also states that because of the risk of false positive, it is more often used by defense to help exclude a suspect rather than prosecute. The technique is very similar to a low copy number DNA analysis. And then we kind of come over to the actual reason for this particular lie. And it's just, when we're talking about there's no explanation for the lack me see if I can do there. There's no explanation for, I don't know if you guys.
Oh, that's a good point, Lisa. I'm going to go to Wikipedia because I'm guessing there'd probably only be one entry for Touch DNA. I don't know how Wikipedia works. I don't use it because it's... So Touch DNA. Okay, so this is the one she had because this is the same... It updated March 13th, 2022. So I'm not sure how things have changed. I mean, it's just over a year, but that's the last time it was edited. And they do have some sources. And it looks like the most recent source was from 2018. So, and the oldest source looks like was from 2008. Which again, I feel like 2008 is a little bit outdated. But that's just me. Oh. But that's not what it says. It's saying there's no explanation from the victims in Koberger's apartment, office, home, or vehicle. And so, and they bring up, no matter what came first, the car or the genetic genealogy. So they're not, and again, possibly they're leaving out the information about the sheath, but they can do that.
But we can.
Oops. Sorry, y'all. Thank you for letting me know. I gave you a little break. Could you still hear her talk even though I didn't have the screen shared? If you didn't hear her, I gave you a little break. I was listening to her. But yeah, my bad.
Assume that he had prepared for the fact that he is a criminology major. If nothing more, he understands the importance. This is the main importance. He understands the importance of not transferring blood. He understands that would kill his case. That would seal his fate. So
wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. Let's hear that again.
Kill his case. That would seal his fate.
So I can't tell if she said fate or faith. Closed captioning picked up faith, and that's what I thought she said, but she could have said fate.
So Brian Koberger, in my opinion, would have brought something with him so he didn't transfer blood, whether that means he masked his entire car up with plastic before heading over there. We know he left at some point. According to the Brett Payne affidavit, we know that after the murders, he didn't go straight back to Pullman, Washington, to the Wazoo campus. We know that. We know that he took this weird drive around the entire, like he did this weird U shape. This is on the Brett Payne affidavit too. This is 15. Let me go here.
What? Okay, so I cut it before I should have. So that timer that you heard, I thought it went a little bit further. She had a timer go off to remind her to check the Idaho court case website to see if any new documents had been dropped. So when I heard that, I was like, what is she doing? Like, is she timing herself, or why does she have this alarm? And she's like, oh, it's time to check the docket. And I'm like, weird. It's like, what was that commercial? It's time to make the coffee. I think that was from Dunkin' Donuts, or time to make the donuts.
So even though the DNA...
Okay, so this is a really short clip, and it's only a minute long, but I really thought it was important that we hear what she says here.
It wasn't there. The ones that it was there for, the Innocence Project were testing, and 50% of the DNA testing that they conducted yielded a guilt of the person that they were trying to help. So ads are back. And let me tell you, they took that. If the ads are back, that has nothing to do with me, because they don't give me the option anymore to, I guess it was beta, to see if I wanted to add ads while I was talking. They don't have that option anymore. So it sounds like YouTube is doing it all by themselves, as there's ads in here. I'm not triggering the ads on my end at all. So just FYI, and there's no option to uncheck to stop the ads either. So just FYI.
And so I'm going to show you, and that was actually, she was responding to my new fake account, because I had accidentally exited, and then in order to continue watching the live, I had to watch an ad. And so I'm going to show everybody why she's lying. Maybe I can't do it in here. Dang it. Oh, wait. Yes, I can. All right, give me 1 second. Okay, maybe I can't. So she's lying. Actually, I'm going to give me 1 second. I think I can show you guys this. Yes. Okay, so let me share this tab instead. Okay, so when you upload a video, it always gives you the option whether or not you want to monetize or not. So here, normally I say off, especially when I'm doing my true crime lives or videos. I never put the monetization off because I just feel gross making money off of someone else's tragedy. But just for the purposes of this, I'm going to put monetization on. Well, here is where you can put, so display ads, you have no choice. That's the one thing you have no choice. You can choose non-skippable, skippable. So obviously you can uncheck them or check them. Then you can also pick, well, before and after you can't pick, but during video. So when she has the lives during her videos, this absolutely, she is choosing to do. Notice what I just did there? So if you choose location of video ads, she absolutely has the choice whether or not to include them or not include them. So she's lying, and I just showed proof that she's lying. Okay.
So about half of the ones that the Innocence Project.
All right. So I just kept that in there because it wasn't really something I would make a video about per se. And I wanted to show, because she said that more than once. And the fact that she said it again, saying that she had the beta version of YouTube Studio and that now she doesn't have the choice, she's lying. She's lying. And, oh, I don't deserve to be paid. I mean, it wasn't even like, what did it take me? Like 30 seconds? Well, it took me longer because I didn't know what I was doing. I had to actually pretend I was uploading a video in order to see those options. So that's the only thing I didn't know. I still don't really understand YouTube Studio. I just know how to go in there and react to comments and upload videos. So now this segment is about 7 minutes. And actually, I must not be talking much because we might get through all of what I want to get through because we have 3 slides left and it's about 35 minutes. So we'll see. She got flagged by YouTube. What do you mean, Dustin?
Did not show that they were guilty, And so we're looking at the reliability of DNA testing, because a lot of people believe that DNA testing is a science and a reliable science and a almost perfect science. But is it? It's not. It's not. Law enforcement has solved countless cold cases as well as current cases based.
Okay, so this clip, you're probably wondering, Emmy, why are you torturing us with this boring ass DNA monologue? Well, it's because I believe this is where she is a mathematician. And for those of you who know, I am a mathematician. And I just thought it was funny that she is connecting DNA to mathematics.
Based on DNA evidence. The problem arises from the fact that, like almost everything, DNA testing is not 100% reliable. A miscarriage of justice can result when someone gets wrongfully convicted based on incorrect DNA results or interpretations. And again, I want to emphasize interpretations. This is a mathematical experiment, so to speak.
A mathematical experiment. The last time I checked, we didn't have experiments in mathematics. We had research projects or proofs, proving something to be true or not. I don't know if you'd call mathematics experimental, because it is or it isn't. Math is math. 2 + 2 is 4.
They are, now granted, it is a proven, it started out with an experiment and became new technology to the world, related to biological identity, right? DNA was a huge, back in the day when DNA was first, I don't want to say investigated, because they knew of DNA, they just didn't know how to process it. But when they started, doing the scientific experiment trying to extract this DNA, when they finally were successful many, many, many years ago, it took such a large amount of DNA to be tested. And since then, they've learned new technology has come out that amplifies the specimen and does a lot of different things, and multiplies the specimen to enlarge it so we can take this tiniest.
Ugh, I hate that word specimen, Betty. Ugh, can you say sample? Because I've said it before, but specimen reminds me of semen. I don't know why, but like you give your specimen at a sperm bank, or I don't know, like I don't like that word. And she always says specimen. Say sample.
Tiniest piece of DNA and amplify it and find out who it belongs to. But again, it's not a perfect match, and that's what I try to explain. There is possibilities. Depending on the type of DNA it is and the type of testing, you may not be the only one that shares those markers with another person, i.e. more hits, i.e. somebody shares similar DNA as you. It's crazy. It's crazy. But the interpretation, they have to interpret it.
Lisa, thank you so much again for the gifted membership. Heather B. Beachy, welcome to the Stoners, and no, not that type of stoner.
And that's where some issues can come in. Why? Because we as humans are imperfect and make mistakes. And when you take a human...
Lady Pants says, she's a liar, pants on fire. Maybe that's why she runs down streets without her pants. Possibly.
To interpret testing, there's an element involved that could be wrong, because we're not perfect.
Oh, I'm glad you said that, babe.
So we're looking at, like, what is DNA? Only 1/10 of 1% of human DNA differs from one individual to the next. I want to read that again, because I know there were some people that came out and made fun of me because of how...
This is where in my opinion, she is interpreting this statistic incorrectly. I want to hear you all think, but in my opinion, what she says next is not what it means.
How I was explaining the DNA, and it's because I've talked to people about it, and while I don't understand it perfectly, I do have a good understanding of it. So I want you guys to read this again. Only 1/10 of 1% of human DNA differs from one individual to the next. Only 1/10 of 1%. Only 1/10 of 1%.
Okay.
Human DNA differs from one individual to the next.
And
although estimates vary, studies suggest that forensic DNA analysis is roughly 95% accurate. 95% accurate. Even our pregnancy tests are 99.9% accurate, right? And how many false positives or false negatives have we received across this country, right? So this is something that the defense can use for their benefit when it comes to DNA. blood, saliva, sweat, urine, semen.
So she's using Seattle PI. Okay, I need to look this up. Hold on, y'all. Seattle PI. Actually, let me look up DNA. Oops. Okay, so Seattle PI is an actual website. And it looks like it's a news type of thing. It doesn't really tell me anything. So this is where she's getting that article from, or what she's reading. I don't really know what this is, but I'm not sure I would consider that reliable.
Semen can readily provide DNA information at crime scene, as can just about any other substance secreted or exerted by the body. Sweat, right? Oils. Depending on the nature of the crime, one or more of these fluids may be present, and investigators can collect the material of DNA for DNA analysis. We have a good understanding of that. I don't think we need to go into that. Now, here is certain facts that I found quite interesting. Again, I'm just searching for information.
So now she's going to start talking about half-life and the dinosaur. I think she brings up dinosaurs. Don't quote me on that. I feel like I heard the word dinosaur, but maybe I was just imagining things.
Related to DNA, right? And I want to know as much information that I can provide my audience as possible. And researchers have recently estimated, check this out, DNA has half-life of 521 years, meaning that this is the duration it can take for DNA molecules to be broken.
Do you know how they're broken, Betty? Do you know how they're broken? In how many pieces? Just curious. Whoa.
Wow. Right? Now, elements degrade it. There are things that you can extract DNA from, like those mammoth fossils. They were able to.
Oh, my bad. It wasn't the dinosaurs. My bad. It was the mammoths. But again, close enough to the dinosaur era. Right?
To extract DNA billions of years later. Right? So DNA is around for a really, really, really long time. It's around for a really long time, depending on how it is preserved. So issues with using DNA testing in law enforcement, and I guess this is kind of common, and these are the major issues related to it. And it's basically saying the issues include human error, which, again, whenever you have a human element, there is going to be a margin of error. Human bias, linking innocent people to crimes, privacy rights, and a surge in racial disparities. I'm not quite sure what it intends to mean. I don't know if that's associated with this or not. That is what they're saying.
You don't know if it's associated with that or not. Yeah, it's in this article that you didn't tell us where it came from, what the date is, although I'm assuming the date is a little bit outdated because it's referencing a 2011 study.
That is what they're saying.
Yep, I knew it was almost over. All right, so now this one is the longest segment, and this is because I had, after 3:30 today, the day was annoying until I got to my parents, and then I got home and I just didn't have time to go through like I usually do. So if there's some boring parts in here, I'll skip over them. But I believe I really want to get to the last one because that's when I got really pissed off. But I don't remember what this clip is about. So let's just take a look.
Did not.
Oh, that's not the one we want. I didn't change the slide.
Significant, but I think the positioning of them and their bodies.
Oh, yes. This is where, so I skipped over where she was showing a video of the layout of the house. She is now saying, she's talking about how the victims were positioned, how she doesn't believe that it's accurate, blah, blah, blah.
This is very important. In any case, that is really important. And where that knife sheath was, where it was left in that room, we know it was on the bed, but was it close to the wall? Was it close to the floor? Was it, and we have an idea of where and exactly the position that Kaylee.
Wait a minute. I need to back up a little because I got distracted. 108.30. I went too far the other way. Dang it. There we go.
Significant, but I think the positioning of them and their bodies is very important. In any case, that is really important. And where that knife sheath was.
Okay, that's what I thought she said. So I actually was watching, Gray Hughes did a live earlier today in regards to the alleged leaked audio or leaked surveillance from the Linda Lane apartments. And he had a 3D program where he kind of moved through the house, and he explained where the sheath would have been based on how it was described in the PCA. And it had said that it was found on Maddie's right side under the comforter, which would mean that Maddie was on the outside of the bed. Kaylee would have been on the inside of the bed, because if the sheath was between the two girls, it would have said between the two girls. If the sheath was found next to Kaylee on her left side, it would have said between Kaylee and the wall. So I thought that was really interesting, because I haven't done that much, I haven't done that much work, the PCA and finding how things align. But it was really interesting to me because visually he had everything lined up the way that it was described in the PCA. And that visual for me was significant. And so with Betty trying to argue about where the sheath was, it's not really, now that I saw the visual based on what the PCA said, it's not difficult to visualize where it would have been. But she's trying to place these victims in different locations or positions, I guess you could say.
Where it was left in that room, we know it was on the bed, but was it close to the wall? Was it close to the floor? Was it, and we have an idea of where and exactly the position that Kaylee and Maddie were in at the time. Now, there's some dispute on Xana Kernodle and Ethan Chapin where they were found in the positions that they were found at. But I have a good understanding, at least for my, thank you, Sonia. But it is.
Oh, so this I posted on my community page. I named it Pimps and Simps, and I forgot to cut out the title of her video. So a lot of people commented about the title of her video, not the fact that they're now selling t-shirts for $30 to $35. Their number one coffee bean t-shirt $5 of each sale is going to be donated towards BHB's much needed camera. Yes, and Sims. So yeah, they're simping hard for girlfriend.
It is an issue because some people believe that Ethan was out almost in the hallway of this crime scene, and I don't believe that's the case. I've went over multiple times the affidavit of probable cause, and it sounds like both of them were in the bedroom when they were seen, and it sounds like Xana was the first to be seen by law enforcement, which would imply that Ethan wasn't out in the hallway dead.
No shit, Sherlock. That's what the PCA said. That is what they saw. They said in the room, meaning they were both in the room.
So I just want to put that in perspective for you that, according to, let me just see if I can pop this up to the Brett Payne affidavit. And I just
so let me just pause. So Michelle S., thank you so much. I'm a little behind. Sorry if you are already off this topic. Seattle PI is the Seattle Post Intelligencer, an online newspaper based in Seattle, Washington. Thank you. I couldn't figure out what it was. I knew it was some type of news based website, but I appreciate that. So thank you so much. Yes, the camera she will get frustrated with figuring out how to use and sell it. Yep, just like she did with the computer that she used the money to buy her new big screen TV. Sinner, I only got, I have to look. I didn't get far because I was watching it about the same time the Walmart issue came up and I was getting aggravated. So I ended up just doing my puzzle instead because I was annoyed. Yes, and Crazy Daisy, yeah, they did say that in the beginning as well. The one thing that I didn't know until one of the latest motions was that it was found under the comforter. So under Maddie, but also under the comforter. Oh yeah, she has paper all over the place. Oh no, and I never changed I gotta change my avatar because I just saw the bunny ears and I always wear my bunny ears avatar when I review her and I forgot to change it from earlier. So I'm going to do that really quick.
To read this stuff to you again. I think it's like page 3.
All right, let's go, girlfriend.
6. And it says right here in this area, right here on page 1, Officer Smith and I entered the King Road residence through the bottom floor door, identified as Kernodles, laying on the floor. Kernodle was deceased with wounds which appeared to have been caused by an edged weapon. Also in the room was a male, later identified as Ethan Chapin.
Thank you so much, Mona Lisa. Keep doing amazing work, M. Observing Independence Day with family. Love to all. Well, thank you so much. That is much appreciated because these kittens, they are growing fast. And every time I go into the room, except for the fuzzy one. Smeg is still he's still nervous, but the tiger ones, I walk in and they're like, "Ooh, it's the treat lady." So that money will be used most likely for treats because they are obsessed.
So it sounds to me that Ethan was not out in the hallway. That both Xana and Ethan were inside that room in different spots inside that room.
Oh, I don't know. Did she say Kernodle? Let me back up a little bit. I don't remember where I skipped to. Let's just go to here.
So they're identifying that as Kernodle's room. Just before this room, there is a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway. As I approached the room, I could see a body, later identified as crenodals, laying on the floor.
Crenodals. That's what she said. She didn't say crenodal. She said crenodals. And I'm guessing crenodals is a word because closed captioning picked it up. But yes, she said crenodal. And then she said crenodal.
Crenodal was deceased with wounds which appeared to have been caused by an edged weapon. Also in the room.
What is with the enunciation?
Later identified as Ethan Chapin. So it sounds to me that Ethan was not out in the hallway. That both Xana and Ethan were inside that room in different spots inside that room. Obviously, somebody was on that south wall, whether it was Ethan or Xana, because there was the red substance dripping down that slab.
Oh, this is the part. So I need to tell all of you, this is not only disturbing, it is deplorable. I don't know what words I used with Bash and Sinner last night, but I was so angry at what she says at this point in the live that I need all of you to know that this is disturbing. Very disturbing. And just know that if you are like me, you are going to be livid with this a-hole. And I'm going to just back it up a tiny bit. 1242. We'll go here.
That room in different spots inside that room. Obviously, somebody was on that south wall, whether it was Ethan or Xana, because there was the red substance dripping down that slab. And that slab was bordering Xana Crenodal's room. So it's believed, and let me just explain this to you. You're not going to get a lot, no matter how much you're stabbed, you're not going to get a massive amount of blood unless your body is still pumping blood. That means your heart is still beating. That is where the blood, so that means whoever was there where that red substance was dripping down the wall was most likely alive for at least a little bit of time to pump, because that's exactly what you would expect. So somebody was against that wall that had been alive prior to them succumbing to their injuries.
And why the fuck do you need to say shit like that, Betty? Every day I listen to her, she proves to me time and time again that she is a freaking sadist. Who in their right mind would have that image of these two young kids in their freaking brain? That is, it still makes me mad, even though I heard it and had time yesterday to get all of the bad words out of my mouth.
And then, of course, we're just going to get into some other points of conversation that I brought up that I thought of when I was preparing this live. And it says, garbage in, garbage out. A first-year law student could win this case as presently presented by law enforcement. At worst, get a mistrial. You're not going to find 12 jury members to ignore the crime scene was compromised. Survivor actions make no sense. This is a person that has absolutely no idea what they're talking about. I'm just going to tell you that right now. They literally have no idea what they're talking about. And I can promise you, no first-year law student is going to get this case thrown out. You have a major seasoned defense attorney that's not even going to be able to get this case thrown out. This whole idea that there's going to be a mistrial because the crime scene was compromised. Look at Alec Murdaugh. Alec Murdaugh's crime scene was compromised. He had his entire family there tromping around the dog kennels and everything else. Guess what, folks? He was convicted of murdering his son and murdering his wife. So this idea, this illusion that something so insignificant. Well, it's not insignificant. Compromising a crime scene is compromising a crime.
Oh, this might be, I made a video. I think this is where she talks about a sprinkle. Maybe not, but I think this is where she talks about the sprinkle. And I did make a video of it, but I wanted to keep this in here because, again, she just cannot stop saying cringe, cringe, cringe things.
Crime scene. But you have to explain that to the jury. It doesn't preclude this case from going forward because a crime scene was compromised. Let me tell you guys something. I hate to burst your bubble if you're on this whole crime scene compromise. Every single crime scene, every single 100% out of 100% is compromised. The minute a law enforcement officer put his foot on that ground, it has been compromised. They've been working with compromised crime scenes since crime scenes were crime scenes. Okay?
Oh,
it's part of the job. Oh, Buck Cherry. Thank you for becoming the newest member of the coffee club. I don't know why I didn't see that come through. It must have came through a gift membership. So I'll go and thank all the folks that are
you can
that have sponsored this segment here in just a little.
You can see gifted memberships, Betty.
Bit. But welcome, Buck Cherry. It's nice to have you. Nice to have you. So, the survivor's actions makes no sense. Yes, the survivor's actions make no sense. And that is going to be an affirmative defense for the defense. Okay? They're going to be able to bring this up and they're going to be able to challenge all this. But this idea that this is just going to go away, it's not going to go away. It's not going to, this case is not going to go away. Could it end in a mistrial? We'll have to see. But the way I'm looking at it right now, Brian Kohberger's in a lot of trouble. Okay, period. We can have all these talking heads, these people that are free Brian Kohberger people, these criminals that like helping criminals.
Criminals that like helping criminals. So it's interesting how she brings up the free Brian Kohberger people, yet she is so obsessed with this man that she put him on her holiday post like they were a thing, an item, a couple in cahoots with each other. So, in my opinion, I feel like you're starting to become one of those free Brian Kohberger people. Just saying.
Out and try to, thwart cases and stuff to help criminals out because they're criminals themselves. I don't have much respect for them, but at the end of the day, I have a good understanding of the law. I'm not perfect at it. I've been removed from it for at least over a decade. And not physically removed. I haven't worked, in a law firm in over a decade. But I can tell you that I have once you have this kind of understanding and this training, it doesn't go anywhere. The processes and the way things go, that doesn't change. I mean, it's like riding a bike all over again. If I were to go walk right back into a law firm today, I'd pick up right where I'd left off. I know how to type pleadings. I know how to do legal research. I know how to do what.
You know how to do legal research? I beg to differ with that statement.
I know how to do. So where's Mike today? Screaming somebody's not guilty. And eating a Big Mac. If anybody wants to know where Mike's at, that's where Mike's at. Bait him out. Dangle a Big Mac. That's too funny. That's too funny. And I got a couple more things here. We already got the DNA, where DNA comes from, and Touch DNA. So I've already got the Wikipedia. So I'm just going to open up the phone lines. I don't know, what you guys think about all of this, and let's talk about that. This lady or whoever posted that post that thinks that a first-year law student can just, this is no big deal. Brian Kohberger's case it's cakewalk. Yeah, a first-year law student could have this thrown out. No big deal, right? No big deal. It's so funny. I hear people talk about law all the time, and it's so funny. They're like, "Oh, they need to bring this in, and they need to bring that. Oh, wait until they're shown this." And you can't. None of that is admissible evidence. None of that. You cannot bring somebody else's grievances into a case. I mean.
So this Mike she's talking about is Mike Stevens. And for those of you who also follow Crimes and Fashion, Mike Stevens also goes to her chat. Mike Stevens is a very, I don't want to say loyal, but he's always in Betty's chats. He is obsessed with Big Macs. And he actually comes and hangs out with us haters all the time and can have a deep conversation with us. So, yes, that is who she's referring to.
It's like, oh, well, let's show them what they did over here. You can't do that. You can't bring somebody else's grievances into a case, just like you can't bring somebody else's evidence into a case. It's insane. These people have no idea what they're talking about. But I can promise you that that Ann Taylor is a seasoned defense attorney. She is a pit bull. She is.
Oh, so now you're talking nice about Ann Taylor? Why the change in tune, Betty?
Like, if we could have had an A team, she would be one on my A team that I would want. That's what's upsetting me about Brian Kohberger and his case. And that whole Days of Our Lives thumbnail, if you guys haven't seen it, it's the pink one. And the whole money behind it just floating down, because they're just handing out money to the defense team like it's water. What other defendant, what other indigent defendant gets a defense like this? Where's the motive, and why did they not find any blood outside? Miss Melissa, we don't know that they didn't find it. We have not received. We get one statement from the defense saying that there's no connection, and everybody's like, "Oh, there's no connection." Where's their receipts? We don't even have. The only thing we have that ties, the only piece of DNA that we are well aware of, is the knife sheath. Law enforcement hasn't told us that. We know that a lot of evidence was taken in. We don't know how much of that evidence has been processed to date. We don't know how much other evidence is outstanding. We don't know if all that evidence that was taken from Brian Kohberger's apartment and his Albrightsville, Pennsylvania house has been fully processed yet. We don't know. So I'm not going to speculate on this DNA.
Marcy, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to pause and I said, no, Em, don't pause. Let her go. But you said the same thing that I was thinking. And then Runs with Scissors, same thing. I was going to pause and say, everybody who is facing the death penalty or a capital murder case, they will get the best of the best because they need to have the best of the best.
I know for a fact that they have DNA at that crime scene that links Brian Kohberger to it. I don't really care whether there's any blood leaving that crime scene to his property, because I know that there's ways to mitigate that, right? He can mitigate the blood transfer. He's a criminology major. He's very tedious and meticulous. He made a mistake with the knife sheath. That's one mistake. If he made one mistake and executed everything else perfectly, he still made that one.
Why does she use those words? They're like words that play on kill. So she'll say slaughter, execute, like just very blunt ways of describing things that are more describing the event, not necessarily what she's talking about. Aw, Brianna. Thank you so much. Late fee, sorry. To rewind I go. I appreciate you, girlfriend. She got a thesaurus.
Mistake, but it doesn't preclude that there's no DNA. There's literally virtually nothing, no DNA. That's only what the defense is alleging, which even if they had DNA, like they do have DNA linking Bryan Kohberger to this crime scene, and they're still denying it exists.
No, they're not. They're not denying it. They're just not stating it in their pleadings. There's a difference.
Right? They're trying to say it's not Bryan Kohberger's. They're trying to get it thrown out. So anyways, we've got the phone lines open up. I'm curious.
So this next few minutes I left in here, I wasn't going to. I was going to make a video about it, but then I was like, I'm just going to show it during the live. This is actually really funny. At least I thought it was funny.
You know, how do you feel about it? I think the DNA, to me, the DNA evidence shows that Bryan Kohberger was at the crime scene. A lot of other people disagree with that because in reality, it doesn't. It shows that he came into contact with the sheep. That's all it really shows. If you really want the factual, everything removed, the sheep shows that Bryan Kohberger came in contact with that sheep. If Bryan Kohberger doesn't hang out with people, doesn't associate with people, doesn't go to parties, how would he have come?
How do you know? Were you his shadow the past few years? How do you know he didn't go to parties? Antisocial people can go to parties. Because usually when you drink, you lose your inhibitions. So you feel a little less scared. So again, she talks like she knows Kohberger, and she doesn't.
Come into contact with that knife sheath? It's a legit question.
No, it's not.
And why is there nobody else that came in contact with that knife sheath but Bryan Kohberger?
Because it was his.
Now,
do you share your what do you call it? Her precious metal? Do you let other people touch your precious metal, Betty? Just curious.
it would make more sense that you have a guy that doesn't like people, is socially void. You know, he can't function socially around people normally. Somebody that is a introvert, somebody that doesn't be around. It would be, I could presume that would be a reason why there's no other DNA on that knife sheath, because he wasn't around anybody, only himself. Everything that they can give, I can flip around and say just the opposite with the information. So that's just, and I just want to show you guys that can be done. So I hope you guys did find this information informational. I hope it did inform you guys of information that we didn't know. I have to be honest with you, out of this whole segment, the most shocking to me was the statistics related to the DNA. You know, I was looking at this, you know, from a lens of, is there a connection? What's the lack of DNA? But when you started researching the DNA processes, the statistics behind how much DNA, when is DNA used in these criminal cases, how often is it used, the numbers are so low that it kind of supports, I mean, yeah, we want DNA evidence. But I think what I mean when I say it's so low, it's not used in all the cases that we thought it was used in.
Yes, J-Lord. So J-Lord says, remember the video her and Olivia did in front of his apartment sometime in December? When he was arrested, she took credit for saying the killer could have been a WSU student. Yes, she did. But she also not only named the wrong person, but also showed his photo on her live and still has it posted to this day, including the fake audio that was debunked, as well as a stolen memorial video from the Chapin family.
There are some issues with DNA that are helping defense attorneys, right? And we don't want to help the defense. We want to help the state because we truly believe Brian is the right person for this crime.
Oh, shoot. I missed this, like, jumped for some reason. So how big mad do you think she was when she found out she missed that video drop last night? I'm getting knowing she probably had a kitten. She was so mad. So what's interesting, so she is so up this case's butt. Even Dolly had a live earlier today on the car video. The fact that she didn't go live, I mean, it's just, I am shocked, to be honest. Because, and I had said to Bash last night, by the time she talks about it, if she does talk about it, it's going to be old news. Because another video leaked from between 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. on the early morning of November 13th. So now, I'm assuming a lot of creators are going to be talking about that video. So by the time she goes live, possibly tomorrow morning, it's going to be old news. But someone also commented or emailed me, I don't remember which, and said, how much do you want to bet she takes credit for getting hands on the video first?
Based upon the facts of the case. Not the speculation of the case, not the opinions of the case, the facts of the case. And the facts of the case are showing that Brian Kohberger stalked the Idaho 4. He has been stalking them since August 21st, 2022, unbeknownst to them. He's made multiple trips over to their property, which is on a dead-end road. So there's no drive-through. So if you accidentally drove in that area by mistake once, you would know that there's no way through and you would not go back there an additional 10 times. You got the fact that he's in this.
Yes, Marcy, that is true. I forgot about that. They also videoed the wrong apartment. They were saying he lived on the top or third floor when he lived on the second floor. I totally forgot about that. And people were telling Olivia that she had the wrong apartment, and they just went with it.
It's intentionally turned off during the hours of the crime, but never been turned off before. This is Betty. Well, good morning, Turkey Man. How are you doing? So what do you think about all this new information about the DNA? Good question. Well, we'd be back at the drawing board. Yeah. And how many other people with the phone numbers that were in and around that area showed up at that house 12 times from out of place? Like, he's in a totally different university, and he's making his way over there 12 times in a matter of 3 months. 3 months.
Outlaw, did I see what?
Phones, car, cameras, the CCTV footage, his odd behavior and the stores. I mean, they've got a lot. I mean, people. I don't think we know to the gravity of all the evidence they have, because we've only been provided such a small, minute sampling of it. Mm-hmm. Oh, hold on. I just realized they can't hear you. Give me just a second. Sorry.
So I wanted to keep that in there because you could see that she was looking at, well, I would assume she was looking at her screens, and she didn't realize that no one could hear Turkey Man and that she was seemingly talking to herself. So I left that in there just because I was going to make a video about it and then decided, I'm not going to. So I'm going to go a little bit over my 2 hours, but I want to get this last, it's about 14, just under 14 minutes. And then we will wrap this party up.
Good morning, Andra.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. A lot better. I had been sick.
Oh, so this is where the title of live came from. So I wanted to leave just this of the phone call. The phone call's in. This is the only other phone call she gets, but she gives some information. She provides some information, medical information that's a little bit not correct.
And I went to the doctor the other day and got some antibiotics, so I'm feeling better than what I was.
Good.
Okay, I just messaged you a photo a while ago, and it's a photo of a pair of gloves that I took at Walmart the other day. I was in the hardware section because I had to get a couple of things, and I happened to notice this pair of gloves laying there, and I said,
"Oh, Lisa, you are so sweet. You do not have to do that, but I appreciate you, and welcome to the stoners, Kayla." And no, not that type of stoner.
These kind of look like the glove that was found by Chris McDonough. And so I snapped a photo of them, and I sent you that picture just a few minutes ago on Messenger, and so you could put it next to the photo from the crime scene and see what your thoughts are on it.
I'll have to look it up and we'll do a
What?
comparison, but there you go. There's what she
What? I haven't seen this part. I just know this is where she gives the bad medical advice. What is she talking about, these gloves? Like, I don't understand what the point of this is. I wasn't paying attention to her. I was paying attention to chat. I don't know what she's doing.
She sent right there.
Oh, somebody sent her those?
Okay. Yeah, I was just showing the audience what you had sent, the gloves. Yeah,
Oh,
I'll have
okay.
to look. I'll have to look. I'll have to pull that video and do some comparison. But yeah.
When I first saw that photo,
So CK, he did, and he confirmed that it was a glove that one of the techs had dropped.
I don't know why, but the first time I saw it, I thought that it was probably, one of the news anchors' gloves or something that someone, dropped outside, because considering where it was right there, towards the edge of the road, where the crime scene tape, just inside the crime scene tape and everything. So, but I assumed it was probably maybe a news anchor or something like that.
And this is where, if they actually watched the people who allegedly found these things, they would have known that McDonough talked about it, and then he also stated that it was not related to the crime. One of the techs had dropped it. So again, here is this speculation that they keep talking about that's not true, and the person who actually found the glove debunked himself, but they just don't take the time because they're so busy.
It might have dropped it. I wouldn't have thought that the police would overlook such a valuable piece of evidence.
Well, I try to tell people all the time.
Oh, Brianna, thank you. She's implying that McDonough bought the gloves and planted one. Of course she is, because that's the type of person she is. Because she's the type of person, in my opinion, that would buy something and place it inside a crime scene to pretend that they found a piece of evidence. Isn't that interesting?
Happens. I mean, we were out in the field. We were called such horrible names because we happened to stumble across.
Oh, I know, and that was so tacky.
And it's like, guys, let me tell you, officers make mistakes. They don't collect everything. They you know, I'm from the
Get it out.
The people that, you know, we don't decide what evidence is. That's for the
Get it out.
the crime labs to decide. We're just to collect it. You know, that's
Wow.
and that's the way I feel like law enforcement. They're just there to collect it, and they're making the decision of what evidence is and what evidence isn't. And I say that is a dangerous practice for beat cops to be doing.
Right, definitely. And also, whatever other male DNA was found at the crime scene, obviously they checked all the DNA.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this is a heinous crime, and you want to get it right. You're not gonna, you know. But I would think that they have already thoroughly investigated whoever the other DNA belonged to, and you know, and ruled them out. Especially if there was male DNA found in Maddie or Kaylee's room, I would assume it may have came from Jack and Jake.
Yeah, but they would have probably gotten their DNA and excluded them. So, I mean, no matter how you look at it, they would have had people to exclude, but there could have been some.
So I think, CK, this is Ruby Glamper. I keep thinking Camper, but I think it's Glamper is in her name, but it's Ruby something. I think that's who this is. Ruby Glamper, is that a YouTube channel?
Somebody, like, there's been several parties there. There could have been somebody that came with a family member that was just visiting from out of town that just happened to be there, you know. And we just learned that DNA can last hundreds of years. Hundreds of years. Now, granted, on surfaces and stuff like that, you wouldn't anticipate it lasting that long, because you've got, you know, people that clean and stuff like that. But, you know, who knows where this DNA came from? And maybe it was a surface that wasn't readily cleaned often, or maybe it was something like the refrigerator handle. I mean, God knows. Yeah,
definitely. And, you know, like I said, I'm sure that whoever they investigated whoever it belonged to the same way they did Brian Kohlberger.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is the conclusion, because he has no reason for his DNA or fingerprints or anything to be there.
They didn't know him. He wasn't invited there to parties. He wasn't associated with sororities or fraternities. He had no connection. So, yeah, what is his DNA doing there?
You have no idea, Betty. Because 1, you didn't go to college. 2, you were not part of the Greek system. 3, you probably never went to a college party. Just because you are not a part of Greek does not mean that you're not welcome to join the party. We had many people who were not a part of our organization or other organizations in the Greek system that came to party with us. So you don't know that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just because there's
I think we're going to have to wait till trial for a lot of things to make sense.
I think that we're going to get a clearer picture as they start fighting over the evidence. I think they're going to start showing their hand a little bit more.
Yeah. I know I was reading in the chat, you know, everybody's still, you know, no one understands why it took Dylan so long, you know, to call the police and all that stuff. And I don't think we're ever going to be able to make sense of that until she gets on that stand and testifies.
And you know that
And
that's
we
going to
know
be one
exactly
of the
what transpired all that morning.
And you know that they're going to ask it if she's going to be a witness for the prosecution. So the good news is we're going to learn that early on in the trial, as opposed to later on in the trial. You know, she's going to be a witness for the state. They're going to be, how they're going to do it is they're going to be walking people through the timeline. So she's not going to come in until a certain point, but she will probably be a witness, I would assume, up front.
Yeah. Yeah, depending on how they.
But the defense knows that there's an issue with that timing. They know that opens a major door, a major window for the defense. This is something they're going to have to address. We are going to know the reason. You know, I believe we're going to know exactly the reason in the next probably 4 or 5 months. I think I think they're going to have to somehow or another. It's going to be brought up.
Yeah. Something else someone mentioned in chat and that I'm anxious to hear is the DoorDash driver who did deliver that food to Xana. You know, we're probably going to have to wait till trial to hear about all that and, you know, exactly, you know, how it all went down. And did that DoorDash driver see anybody or happen to pass by Brian's car? You know, he's driving back and forth around up there, and then you've got this DoorDash driver. I would think he you know, the DoorDash driver possibly saw Brian or saw his car.
It's possible.
You know,
he was in the area for an hour before he killed them. So it is possible.
Yeah, I think that in the videotapes of the police where they stopped those kids for underage drinking, I think that we do see his car in the background and during that body cam footage, because there's headlights driving around.
You know what?
In the background, as you see.
I actually have an idea that came into my head as you were talking. Let me write this down. So.
Oh, she got an idea. Are you going to share with us?
And who were those kids that were seen running around in the background over in that area? There was a lot of people out there that night.
Oh, of course. It's a college town. I mean, it's a weekend night. Yeah, they're up until they're coming in until 5, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God, Betty.
Yeah, somebody had to have seen something. And we don't know about whether or not they've taken those kids in and questioned them about, you know, anything they might have seen. We don't even know who those people were, you know, underneath that light in the background, but there was 5 or 6 people.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on. But, you know, at that time we were focused on the wrong time frame. Remember, at that time, we were focused at 3 o'clock. He didn't even make it into the area until 3:29.
Right.
So.
But, you know, I just feel like we're going to have a lot to, you know, that we're just going to have to sit tight and wait on, you know, until it all comes out in trial testimony. But I don't
I'm trying to find ways of getting some kind of documents. Like we're going to be dropping, we've got a lot of stuff in this document drop. Let me just go over some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about.
Ooh, I'm glad I decided to go over this. All right. And just an FYI, y'all, I did my math wrong. I just realized this seems like it's been going on a while. This clip is actually 24 minutes, not 14, because I didn't realize that 5 minus 3 is 2, not 1. So I may end this soon. I'll probably end this after this phone call. We'll see.
We've got, we had the one where Ethan was pulled over. I've got another one where his laptop was stolen.
Wow. So she's going to talk about when his laptop was stolen. Like, what the F? Why is that relevant? So she dropped the one where he was pulled over. Now she's got another one where his laptop was stolen. She did the whole scam where some international scam artist was trying to scam out of $6,000 to rent the house when clearly it was not rentable. Like, whoop-de-frickin-do. Instead of dropping these dumb video, well, I shouldn't say dumb, because Ethan is in them, or it's no, one was about Ethan. These irrelevant videos. Why not talk about things that are actually going on? Like the car video that people have been talking about the past 24 hours, little more than 24 hours.
From the Sigma Chi fraternity. So we're going to be dropping that video later today of him reporting that to the police department. We've got.
Oh, that's funny, because again, this was her live from yesterday. There was no video dropped about Ethan's laptop being stolen from Sigma Chi.
Also, I didn't know this, and many people didn't. Somebody tried to fraudulently rent out the King Road residence shortly after the murders. I didn't know that either.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's first time hearing this.
Yeah. So all that's going to be dropping later today. I'm going to make that into video format and get that out. But we got a lot of new content, a lot of stuff that people didn't see, know about, or hear that's going to be coming, that's going to be released here on the Bullhorn Betty channel today. So if you guys aren't familiar with this channel, or I usually go out to the location where these crimes happen. The differences between me and a lot of the YouTubers is my content is mine. I own it. It's copyrightable to me. I pull very little information from other sources. We use it, but
runs with scissors. She wasted money on this. And the thing that grosses me out even more is that she deliberately write down Ethan's name and probably other information in order to get this information, which again, the cringe factor is skyrocketing.
we use our own.
To use a math term, Betty, your cringe level is growing exponentially.
Own copyrighted material in most of our content. That is the difference between us and regular YouTubers. We're content creators, not YouTubers.
Exactly. And you've done an amazing job with going over all these documents in depth and everything, and talking about them and discussing and everything. You know, nobody wants to see an innocent person, you know, persecuted for a crime that they did not commit.
Absolutely not.
So, you know, I am going to sit and listen to every bit of this trial testimony. You know, yes, right now I do believe he's guilty, but you know, I've been wrong before.
Yeah.
And so I want to wait until all this evidence comes out and we hear this trial, and you know, decide for myself, do I think he's guilty or not?
Oh yeah. And I always preface that, you know, based upon my personal preference, you know, my personal opinion, based off the information that we have available to us right now, I believe Bryan Kohberger is without a doubt guilty of this crime. Now, granted, that could change.
Granted, not granite. We're not talking about countertops, Betty. It is granted. Even closed captioning knows how to say it. Not granite. Granted.
You know, new information could come available that would change our perspective of Bryan Kohberger. I don't foresee it, but it's possible. But we all have to keep an open mind when it comes to this. And we have to be paying attention to, I mean, I don't think the FBI would ever set up somebody. I just don't. Why would they set up this guy, this criminology major from Wazoo? Why? I mean, if somebody could answer that question for me, maybe I will entertain that ridiculous statement. But until somebody can explain to me why the FBI agents would be picking on Brian Koberger of all people, I'd just like to know.
Right. And there's the red flag. There's your clue. He's a criminal. He's a criminology major. You know, keep that in mind. This guy.
Oh, that's a red flag. So the fact that I have a master's in criminal justice, does that mean that I should also be like Brian Koberger? That's a red flag. If we go to school for criminal justice or criminology, I have a certificate in forensic criminology. Is that like a super bright red flag? Well, damn.
I have no doubt plotted and planned like no other to try and commit the perfect crime and to not leave DNA and not leave fingerprints and all that kind of stuff.
What if this has nothing to do with the kids? I mean, just listen to me. What if this, because you brought up a valid point, and we know the type of personality Brian Koberger is. He wants to be the smart person in the room. What if this didn't have to do with anything about him being an incel? What if this had nothing to do with him being infatuated with these girls or being turned down by these girls? What if it just happened to do with him wanting to commit the perfect murder, and this was the way his brain said was the way to commit the perfect murder? What if it had nothing to do with those? What if it had literally, they never crossed paths. They never did anything to antagonize Brian Koberger. What if this was just for him to prove to himself he was capable of committing the perfect murder?
Exactly. I mean, I think we've got some bombshells yet in store. I really do.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. All right, Amy. Well, you take care. I love you, and God bless you. And
okay, you too. I love you. I love Mama Bullhorn. Y'all have a good 4th. I guess I'm gonna just float around on my raft like I do every day.
Oh, that sounds lovely. I wish I had a raft.
I'm thinking though that if I remember correctly, are you not supposed to be out in the sun when you're on antibiotics?
Honestly, I don't know. I know you're not supposed to drink alcohol on antibiotics. I don't know about the sun. I think there's certain medications you can't be in the sun, but it should tell you.
So obviously I've been on antibiotics because I've been sick before. I thought you shouldn't drink alcohol on birth control pills. I've never heard that you shouldn't drink alcohol on antibiotics. I'm assuming that it's not a good mix. But I'd like to know that because I actually don't know that. I always just associate don't drink alcohol when you're on birth control.
On the label.
Yeah, I was trying to remember.
Yeah, but I don't think it's antibiotics.
Okay. I couldn't remember because it's been a while. Well, anytime that I've been on antibiotics hasn't been in the summertime, so I didn't need to worry about it.
Gotcha. All right, girlfriend, will you take it?
All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, Nani, I was going to address your comment about, the transfer of the DNA on the one that I had up for a really long time. I don't believe that's going to be the case because of a number of things. We'll get back to it. This is Betty. Oh. I went to answer and it just went away. I went to answer and it just was up and then it went bye-bye. So if you want to call back, please feel free to call back. But related to that whole transfer, I'm trying to find the comment now if I can. Wow, we had a lot of comments. I think I'm getting close to your comment, your original comment that I had up. But I thought it was an interesting comment, and I wanted to address it and why I disagreed with it. I disagreed with it, but I wanted to explain why. Thank you, Nani, for posting this, by the way. But the DoorDash driver from the very beginning, I remember them saying that the food delivery driver is what they called it. The food delivery driver was cleared, and she was cleared early on in the investigation. I don't.
Okay, so this is where Sinner and I were having a conversation that I don't remember law enforcement ever saying that the DoorDash driver was a female. And I kind of looked through documents from before. I couldn't find anything where they said it was, law enforcement said it was a female. If anyone knows where they have confirmed that, please let me know. But when she's saying she, others are also saying that, and I don't remember hearing that confirmed.
I don't think that Brian could have been the DoorDash. I know that has made its way around, but I trust.
Hey, blank screen. Yes. Well, and I'm past my 2 hours, but I figure I just want to get this over with, and I'm kind of awake because I had an annoying afternoon. So we're just gonna, get this heifer over with today. Lost and dizzy, Heather. Okay. It was a press conference with Fry. He said male, I believe, but it was so long ago. Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and watch some of those. Yeah, but I didn't think they said it was a woman.
Jonathan, and he went there and confirmed who was driving the car that night. I believe it was a woman with dark hair.
Oh, that's where she got it from. JLR talked to someone who confirmed it was a woman with dark hair. Okay, that's all I need to know.
So I trust Jonathan's work. He's not going to lie or make up stuff to the public, not like that. So I believe that the DoorDash driver was a female, but moreover, even if whether it was male or female, they cleared the DoorDash driver way early on in the investigation. So I don't believe that would have been Brian, and it could have come into contact with that sheath. And again, that sheath would have had to have touched that bag before making its way up to Maddie. And
wait, hold on, I got distracted. I was writing a note. Let me just back up a little bit.
I think that Brian could have been the DoorDash. I know that has made its way around. But I trust Jonathan, and he went there and confirmed who was driving the car that night. I believe it was a woman with dark hair. So I trust Jonathan's work. He's not going to lie or make up stuff to the public, not like that.
Okay.
So I believe that the DoorDash driver was a female. But moreover, even if whether it was male or female, they cleared the DoorDash driver way early on in the investigation. So I don't believe that would have been Brian, and it could have come into contact with that sheath. And again, that sheath would have had to have touched that bag before.
What? That's what I thought she said, but I thought I heard it wrong because I was distracted by chat. The sheath would have had to have touched the bag? What?
Or making its way up to Maddie and Kaylee's room. And we are learning now, well, we've learned early on that it appears that it all started in Kaylee and Maddie's room, and then went down to Xana and Ethan. So even with that I'm not saying that's I mean, I love the fact that you're thinking outside of the box, that you're throwing out perspectives, because you never know. It could have been just the opposite, where, oh my gosh, we didn't think about that. So don't stop throwing out perspectives. I thought this was a great explanation, and I wanted to explain why I disagreed with you. But I love you, Nani. I love you, Nani. I love you. But I just disagree. But I get what you're trying to express and how you're trying to explain that this knife sheath probably, there's other explanations how Brian Kohberger's DNA could get on that knife sheath. So I get what you're trying to say, but the example you used, I disagree. I love you, Nani. You know I love you.
Oh my God.
Can you believe, listen to this. So remember the other day, I was talking about that comment that some buffoon put on.
All right, we're just going to listen to this for, let's see, it's at 51. Oh, okay, we have 5 minutes left. We might as well just go with it. Less than 5 minutes.
On Sleuthy Goosey's Twitter feed, I just thought was the stupidest question ever. And it was about this knife sheath. I think we were just talking about it yesterday or on Friday. It was Friday because I remember reading on Saturday. Everybody's like, why are you being so mean to Sleuthy Goosey? I thought you liked Sleuthy. Listen, I like Sleuthy. First of all, first and foremost, there may be a time that Sleuthy and I do not agree on a topic. It has nothing to do with whether I like her or her personality or anything. It's about information and how we interpret that information. And she's an individual and I'm an individual. And I doubt that we interpret every piece of information.
Interpretate. I'm glad she fixed it, but interpretate.
Information exactly the same. So we're going to have at some point some kind of conflict there between some information, not conflict like conflict, just conflict in comparing the information. So I'm not going to be this whole idea that just because I like some information coming from a creator out there doesn't mean I'm hook, line, and sinker with everything that they say or do.
Yeah, you are, in my opinion. And just an FYI, this is completely off topic, but I watched Menace's video that he did, I think it was yesterday. He has a sexy voice. Just saying. I could listen to him all day. So I don't know why Betty's hating. She seems to hate the guys with sexy voices. I don't know why. Seems a little dumb in my opinion.
For that matter, right? But me talking about that comment literally had nothing to do with Sleuthy Goosey. It was the person that made the comment on Sleuthy's website or Twitter page. It has nothing to do with my feelings of Sleuthy. I like Sleuthy. I think she's a nice girl. I think she is just getting established on YouTube. I think she has great resources and great information. She's got a good head on her shoulders. And those are the types of things and types of, people that I like to be around and be associated with because they work and they work hard. And I don't know who keeps calling.
I know who keeps calling, but most of us probably know who's calling because she said she was going to try calling it the other day. But yes, that is who keeps calling and hanging up because they got scared.
But apparently you're having some technical issues on your phone. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the phone because we've already tried like 5 times and it rings like once or twice and then goes wayside. So either way, I hope that this conversation, this segment was beneficial to you.
No.
At least if nothing more, giving you a good understanding of the statistics around DNA evidence around, how often is it used in these cases? And also, is there seemingly no I'm sorry, but I can't say that there is literally zilch. There's no connection between Brian Kohberger and these victims. I wholly disagree with that statement. I think that anybody that's peddling that is peddling misinformation and intentionally thwarting their own audience for a narrative. And I don't know what their narrative is, but the bottom line is there is evidence linking these people together. If there was no evidence linking these people together, guess what? Brian Kohberger wouldn't be sitting in Latah County Jail right now. Just saying. In my humble opinion. My humble opinion.
Yeah.
If there was no evidence and there was no linkage between the victims and the suspect, Brian Kohberger would not be in Latah County Jail right now.
Okay.
So there is linkage there. There is evidence. Because he was a needle in a haystack. Where did he come from? He came from evidence. That's where he came from. Brian Kohberger is here. Why we're talking about Brian Kohberger because the evidence led to him. All the sleuthing in the world we did after I sleuthed and sleuthed.
Oh, all the sleuthing in the world we did after I sleuthed and sleuthed. Oh. Now she sounds like she's trying to be Shakespeare.
And sleuthed and could not find a connection. I came to my audience and told you guys, this is going to be somebody we are not going to be looking at. This is going to be somebody that comes from left field. This is not these.
I agree, Bash. And Sleuthy just came to YouTube not too long ago, and she is crushing it. She's crushing it.
Kids that they're associating with and hanging out with. These are not the type of personality or person that would commit a crime like this. So we're getting it right. We're getting it right. We're understanding the process. There's a few things and a few minor details that we don't have 100%, and I'm fine with that. You know, coming here and talking about this stuff, if we can be 90% accurate, we're more accurate than mainstream.
90% accurate? Do you mean 90% not accurate? Did you forget a term there, Betty? You are not 90% accurate. I wouldn't even say you're 9% accurate, in my opinion.
Media, and I'm fine with that. And so far, we've been hitting that target number. We've been over 90% accurate in this entire investigation and in this entire case. And that, to me, is a win for Bullhorn Betty and Bullhorn Betty channel. And for all of you, because you guys are getting the right information that you need. You know, it's not made up. We do speculate, we do theorize, we do provide our opinions here, but we always make sure our audience always has the factual basis to start theorizing, providing opinion.
The factual basis? Again, in my opinion, that is false.
Opining. What?
Ah, and there we go. She said opining was the last word she said. Opining. All right, so we have, holy cow, we have almost 200 people in chat. I might have to start doing late night lives more often. That's crazy. So before we end, for those of you who may not have seen it, for those of you who have, close your eyes. We're going back to the cringe factor. Girlfriend posted this on her community page earlier this evening. And I hadn't seen the whole thing. I actually only saw this middle part, Happy 4th of July crime scene. And I was like, wow, that's tacky. And then I accidentally clicked on the picture because I was trying to save it. And that popped up. And I was like, holy hell. What the F am I looking at? Yes, Brianna. Yes. Betty, use opining in a sentence. I agree, Amy M. So this wasn't a thumbnail. This was actually, and actually before I go, so not bad, 2.5 hours. Like I did pretty good for having, we watched 66 minutes total. Actually more than that because I couldn't do math. So that's not bad. 90 minutes for the amount I talk. So let me go to, oh, I'm already here. All right, so let me refresh. Let's go here. We got some funny comments. All right, so now this was 4 hours ago. So that would be, yeah, like 7:38. So this is her post. And actually, I'm going to make this bigger because we just want to take it all in, y'all. So this was the post. Weird. Oh, and Betty, just an FYI, July should be capitalized because it's a month. Just saying. So some of the comments, oh Lady O, Betty, hope you had a restful 4th of July. See you next Tuesday. Oh, I'm sorry. See you at the next BHB Coffee Club. Hugs. Betty, that's this. What the heck? You posted twice. Happy 4th of July, BHB. What is this US? Is that like someone they're trying to use an emoji? Like this one says Happy 4th of July This one says US us. Yeah, that's not weird at all. Tracy, you're such a sweetheart. Happy 4th of July. What the actual fuck? There we go. That one's a like. GG. Oh. And that's it. So we had a couple people who commented that I gave thumbs up to, even though it didn't count. But yes. She is gross. She is gross. So with that, y'all, that was fun. And I forgot about my Walmart rose today. So if you are catching the replay, I actually saw a video that said you should talk about your replay friends. So if you're catching the replay, #replay, and like, don't forget to like, dislike, engagement is engagement. Doesn't matter to me. I have fun doing this, and that's why I do it. So tomorrow I don't know, I kind of feel like I should go late night again, but this is really late for me. I'm usually watching my Raccoon Saloon and doing my coloring at this point. So I am going to go eat some cheese doodles because I can. And until next time, y'all, I will see you on the flip side.